I warmly welcome everyone. Can anyone tell me the exact time? It is exactly 8:30. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a restful and pleasant evening, everyone. This is one of our options since today's event was scheduled until 8:30, and I don't want to be disrespectful of your time. So for those who feel that their time was up until now, I would like to thank you very much also on behalf of the organizers for being here. And to those who trust me and are willing to listen to a few more thoughts, I am very grateful. The time slot I was originally given is 30 minutes. We still need to discuss how much of that time you will allow me, because I would like everyone to be satisfied with this. Who here says that I can give my entire presentation? Thank you very much for your honorable trust. I hope that by the end you'll still feel that this was the right decision. Who likes the title of my presentation? I like it too. I got it from Imi. The day before yesterday, he sent me a text message saying, this will be the title of your presentation, okay? And I wrote back that, yes, I was just busy at the time. I said, okay, then we'll build everything around that. And of course, after those wonderful words I received from Istvan, but by the way, I'm a bodybuilder myself, in case you haven't seen me before. It's just that I'm not finished yet. So I'm kind of at the same stage as Istvan, and I have to say, when I see these hopeful looks during the break, how everyone is searching for solutions for their own lives, I feel a bit like that certain mosquito at the nudist beach. Not sure where to start because you're all really looking at me with such trust. So given all this, what can I actually deliver in a 30-minute talk about living in complete abundance? Well, my first request is that we take advantage of this brilliant opportunity that so many of us have gathered here. I'd like to ask you to stand up and introduce yourselves to at least 3 people around you. Build connections just as Istvan introduced so well. I'm Peter Sabo, very pleased to meet you. Thank you very much. This isn't coming out of my time. Thank you very much. Who here has seen me at any presentation anywhere before? Wow. And who hasn't? Who is so tired already that you don't even feel like raising your hand no matter what I ask? Yes. Well then, allow me to wrap up my introduction with a quick sweeping gesture. I come from far away, and I'm going very far as well. And the thing is, this morning, I literally hopped out of the room like an Indian. And my wife asked me, what's going on with you? I said, I love what I do. It's simply such a gift that I can come here to you today and talk about how there is life before death. It's really simple. So let's really stop tiptoeing our way to the grave and instead wake up in the morning feeling that life is a gift and make the most of it. This evening we've heard a lot of different perspectives and some very professional presentations about how to build abundance in terms of finances, in our lives. What you see here is a wheel which specifically symbolizes the wheel of life, since money and financial abundance are just one segment of our lives. I have to add that it is just as important as all the others. But of course, we know that alongside it, there is health, spirituality, family and friends, and human relationships. And if you look at it, I can really say that life is beautiful and truly good when it is well-rounded. If you imagine the wheel of your life in these areas, then examine how that particular wheel of life could roll, how it could turn. Which is the area you need to focus on the most? If I were to emphasize once again that finances are very, very important. Just imagine that each area of life is symbolized by one of your fingers. And I often hear people say that money is not important. I see 2 things regarding this. One thing is that when someone says money isn't important, just imagine that one of your fingers represents money, finances. And then we take a hammer and give that finger a good hard whack. and I tell you, don't pay attention to that one, just focus on the others. Can you do that? Not really possible, right? That's one thing. Another thing I hear is when someone says, like, you know, the thing is, I'm just not interested in money. What do you think? Do they have money? And do you know why? Just try telling your partner a few times that basically you're not interested in them. How long do you think they'll stay with you? Do they like that? Think about it. If you say about money that you're not interested in it, why would it stick around with you? It will go to someone who is interested, right? So let's look at these areas, and really, to stay within the time limit, allow me to move on. My original plan was for everyone to draw a wheel, write down the areas, and mark where they stand in each area. Please do this. Exercise at home for yourselves. What is it that is common to every area of our lives? We've talked about finances here. We're talking about relationships, human connections, and family relationships, health, vocation, and so on. What is it that is common to all these areas? Let's imagine it as a story. A man goes to the doctor and says, "Doctor, please help me. When I touch here, it hurts. When I touch here, it hurts. So my tatya, when I touch here, it hurts." The doctor examines the man and says, "Well, sir, your finger is broken. The axle of this wheel is each of us ourselves, and you can only assemble the whole wheel. You can only set it rolling on this axle so that it really moves if you yourself are in order." So the solution is that we ourselves are the answer. The only common denominator throughout our entire life, in finances, in relationships, regarding health, in our vocation. All of them, when we put them together, have finance in common. And after all, we take ourselves with us everywhere. We can't take a vacation from ourselves. We can't enter a new relationship or go to another company without ourselves. Try it. You'll always be there with yourself. There's only one solution. Please, I'm begging you on my knees, Brana, put your relationship with yourself in order. Accept and love yourself, because without that, it won't work. I see so many people who don't love themselves, who can't even look in the mirror. That's why I ask myself, who here has seen one of my talks before? Because those people know what I'm talking about, how much I suffered from self-hatred. Of course, even at my trainings, people don't believe this because they say the contrast is too great. But I worked very hard for this. And yet, compared to that, they expect others to love them, appreciate them, and acknowledge them. But for heaven's sake, how? What do you think these people have in common, the ones you see in the picture? What? Smart? Dentist? Oh, dentist, yes. Okay, any other guesses? They're happy, yes. The photographer is the same, okay? Let me give you a different perspective. One thing's for sure, they're not Hungarian. Listen, the idea of a Hungarian person standing up here and talking about how great they are for 2 minutes. Everyone in the audience who would be bug-eyed, like a drawer popping open, like, oh my God, what is this person doing? Is he praising himself? Who does he think he is to do that? So what do you think of yourself? Self-praise is a bad thing, right? That's what we were taught, but that's not how it is. If you don't know that you're good at something and you're not willing to own it, to admit it, then why do you expect others to recognize and praise you? All right, so let's start from the point that first we need to recognize that we are good, and then develop ourselves and become even better. And really think about what you say to yourself when you look in the mirror in the morning. You get out of bed, open your eyes, and smile, right? Who here woke up with a smile this morning? It doesn't matter if it was without any stimulant. So it's just that you open your eyes, okay? You go to the bathroom, scratch yourself as usual. You go over, there's the mirror, and you say, wow, I look great. Oh my God, what a gift it is that I was born. Anyone who gets to meet me today has really hit the jackpot, right? I suppose that's the case for all of us, isn't it? Thank you. Well, there was a time when that was true. I have the wonderful experience of being a father. I have 2 amazing little sons, Gustavo, and I see how they look at themselves in the mirror, and then a few years go by. something changes, something changes. But what is it? My question is, what can we say is bigger in a child than in an adult? Their ears. Thank you. Any other guesses? Their self-confidence? Yes. There's a picture that symbolizes it. I'm looking for a very, very short word. It has 3 letters. It starts with an H. It ends with a T and has an I in the middle. Their faith. My kids, without any prompting, can talk for 2 minutes straight about what they're going to accomplish in life. And we were all like that. Each of us knew this until our environment convinced us of the opposite. The well-meaning adults around us, right? Back then, we never thought that anything was impossible, did we? Over time, our faith runs out. And that's why we stop believing things about ourselves. And actually, what I want to talk about now, instead of going through every area, is how we can live in abundance, how we can regain our belief in ourselves. My question is, among those present here, who wants to be rich? If you want to be rich, don't just raise your hand. Stand up now. Come on, this isn't the retirement club. Come on, stand up already. Oh, the others don't want to be rich. All right, then just stay seated, really. There's no pressure. My only request was that those who want to be rich should stand up. The faith that is within you. This is what we're talking about now. My request is that only those remain standing who believe so strongly in their decision that they truly want to become rich. If I were to say that in 10 years, we'll meet here in the Lurdy House in lecture hall number 4. And if you're not rich, then you immediately collapse and die. Whoever would still stand by their decision under these conditions remains standing. I can see that some people's knees are shaking. Thank you very much. Give yourselves a round of applause. Congratulations. Do you understand? Do you understand the weight of this decision? What it means when you truly believe in something? Not just because you want it right now or because you're scratching at it. So you see, I absolutely encourage everyone to really genuinely think in only one way. Just one way, just that one way and no other. Think big. Always think big. The truth is, it takes just as much energy to think small as it does to think big. Exactly the same amount. And if you start pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone, and excuse me, if you're not so protective of your petty little life, you might lose, you might end up worse off, and things might not work out. And so what? People are afraid of failure, and what I see is that they're so afraid of failing that they don't even start anything. But if you don't start anything, for heaven's sake, then our whole life won't be made up of small failures with the chance for a big success. But instead, the whole thing will just be one big failure. And do you know why I'm standing here now and why I love that I get to do this? Because I want people not to look back and reflect on things like Tolstoy wrote in his novella, The Death of Ivan Ilyich. Who here has read it? Ivan Ilyich is lying on his deathbed. From the title of the novella, it's clear that, this isn't a comedy. At least not from the protagonist's perspective. He's lying on his deathbed, holding the hand of his wife, whom he has truly hated his entire life, Adne, and he asks himself the question, is it possible that I have lived my whole life the wrong way? Let's not wait for that moment. Here is the opportunity to start doing something for our own lives right now. Let's think big and believe that as soon as we make the decision, just like before, when you stood firm that there is no plan B, that you will make it happen. Then quite simply, circumstances will bow before you. Thinking big requires a completely different mindset. This is very well symbolized by the story of the one-time millionaire who goes fishing. What is it that a leisurely millionaire definitely has? 2 things. Time and money. Well, this is exactly one of those cases. He goes fishing, sits down, casts his line, and his phone rings. He answers it. Tell me, my little girl. But listen, Dad, I'm here at the Cavalli Salon, and I saw a beautiful suit, and it's only 10,000 euros. Can I buy it? Of course you can, sweetheart. Is that why you called? She buys it, hangs up. He keeps on fishing. His phone rings again. His wife is calling. Hi, darling. I'm here at the Dior Salon too. And I saw the latest Brillia jewelry, and it's only 100,000 euros. Can I buy it? Well, of course you can, my dear. Is that really why? You know I'm out fishing. Is that why you called? He hangs up the phone. The phone rings again. But go ahead, son. Hey, Dad. So the thing is, we're here at the Maserati showroom talking, and the new Gran Turismo is here, and it's only 2,000 euros. Can I buy it for myself? Son, just buy that car already and let me fish in peace. Seriously. He hangs up the phone, mutes it out of habit, and continues fishing leisurely. Suddenly, he catches a goldfish. He looks at it, examines it, then throws it back. As soon as the goldfish falls back into the water, it immediately turns around and asks the millionaire a question. And what about the 3 wishes? Huh? To which the millionaire replies, go ahead, tell me. It's a slightly different way of thinking, isn't it? So when you start thinking really big, chances are, at first only, you will know what you're preparing for. Only you will know what's inside here. Everyone laughed at me. Everyone thought I was crazy. No one believed in me. What can be discovered in this picture? First of all, whose hand do you see?
Tony Camille. Any other guesses?
I cast my vote for the latter. This is Brian Tracy's hand. What do you see in this picture that might be interesting from my perspective? Yes, so this is the part where it's already very close. It's really very close. Yes, by the way, I have the honor to say that thinking big was something that was quite difficult for me at first as well. Then, when I decided to choose a mentor for myself, I said that it could only be the very best in the world. According to my criteria, my number 1 role model and mentor is Brian Tracy. And in 2011, I said that Brian Tracy would know who I am. Well, considering that I didn't speak English, and after all, there are about 7 billion of us here. I mean, I don't even know how many. What kind of odds would they have given for this on TipMix? But I made up my mind. This February, I met him in the lobby of the Kempinski, where I was doing an exclusive interview with him. And he greeted me with, "Hi, Peter." And I said, "Thank you." And since then, believe me, that was a real sports select moment for me. That's how nervous I was about this meeting. But honestly, it's rare that I ever get embarrassed by something. This was one of those situations because of the immense respect I felt. And to continue the story, because let me not end it here, I actually had another goal in mind. When you look at your mentor in such a way that anything, absolutely anything coming from them is an enormous honor. So once again, I came up with something that makes me feel justified in saying that we really should think big. I said that Brian Tracy would write a recommendation for my book. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a caption. For the English version, and actually for the Hungarian one as well, for the next edition. I achieved it, and believe me, I'm not talking about this because I have chronic facial nerve inflammation or because I'm so arrogant that I wouldn't even greet myself, but to show that we really should think big. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me continue. Let's stretch that comfort zone a little. Are you in? Okay. Then I ask you to take a piece of paper in front of you. Who doesn't have a piece of paper? Okay. I'd like the neighbors to help out so that everyone has a piece of paper in front of them. My request is that you add a 0 to the end of that amount. Be careful not to put it on the wrong end. So not at the beginning. One is the beginning, but I said at the end, okay? Okay, so that's that time. So write it down. You have the number. Let's say up until now it was 5 million. And then you just add a zero, and suddenly it's 50 per month, okay? But it could also be, say, 100,000. But listen, back in 2003, we'll say, when I was given trust by a company, you could have worked one-on-one with me if someone paid, say, 50,000 forints. I'm serious if they, and this is no joke. Anyone who knows why or who saved time with it knows exactly why. So by the way, it was Tony Robbins who said when we were out in London recently that the first time you receive a $100,000 transfer, it becomes a turning point in your life. That's when you feel like you've crossed over to something else. So keep looking at that amount, not during my time, but before you go to bed at home, and start getting comfortable with it. Think about what you would need to do so that what used to be your annual income could now become your monthly income. Okay? Or if you prefer, write down the amount each time, add a zero to the end, and start getting comfortable with that figure. And what should you do if you still don't believe it? If you don't believe it either? Very often I see, and there are people who honor me with their trust, and we talk about what goals they have, and they don't believe it. Their brain blows a fuse, it just can't handle it, right? He says, what the hell are you going to give this to? It never seems possible. Even the king doesn't have that much money. I have a really good piece of advice that helped me break down a lot of walls. I used to think were insurmountable. Here's what I do if I have a goal. That's really far removed from how I currently think, what I can believe, and how I live. So there's my current situation. And then there's where I want to get to. And the question is how I make that believable for myself. It looks like this. I always start the sentence with, what if? So if you start telling yourself, my monthly income is 10 million forints, my monthly income is 10 million forints, but inside you feel a knot in your stomach, and so on. And you say, oh my God, that's impossible. 10 million forints, and you feel uncomfortable about it. Just try the same exercise by saying, what if my income were 10 million forints? That's right there. Okay? Play around with this a bit, because the real breakthrough happens on an emotional level. When your heart is pounding in your throat as you think about your goal. That's when you can really make a breakthrough. And that's when you don't need to be pushed in the morning. When you're not dragging yourself out of bed like a sled. Oh my God, it's morning again. But instead, it's like you're shot out of a cannon. It's a huge difference. Success is predictable. And do you know why? Because every skill can be learned. Do you remember when you were getting used to riding a two-wheeled or three-wheeled bike, things like that? A few years go by, right? You can really get the hang of riding like that. This is a slice of life. So this is absolutely not some kind of sci-fi anymore. This is what we actually see. Is that true, Eva? So allow me, a very dear friend of mine, let me share with you a few pieces of good advice, thanks to which I went from where I was to now standing here in front of you talking about what I am. Before I share these tools with you in the remaining few minutes, let me tell you about a personal experience of mine which caused me to be stuck in the same place for a very long time until 2004. I had only read a single book in my entire life. It was titled The Sailor Died, because that's what people usually ask about during breaks. I don't know why. Probably because they think it was Think and Grow Rich or something like that. But no, not at all. It had nothing to do with self-development. And after that, I started getting into this, and I began devouring books. I said to myself, oh my God, this is a gold mine. How can anyone live without it? And I picked up every book as if I were searching for the Holy Grail, thinking that finally, I'd be able to extract the ultimate answer from one of them. But believe me, it's in every single one of them. The only difference is you actually have to do it. And this reminds me of the story when a new priest arrives in a small village. He gives the Sunday Mass, which is a huge success. People are amazed, saying that every word of his sermon is a wonderful blessing for us. A week goes by, word spreads about the priest's work, and the next week, the previously barely attended church is completely full. The priest steps up and delivers the sermon. It's a huge success with just one small detail. He says exactly the same thing, word for word as the previous week. In any case, the congregation really, really likes it. Another week passes, and now people are coming from neighboring villages as well. The church is so crowded that people are hanging from the gallery just to hear the Mass. The priest steps up and delivers the sermon. Word for word, the exact same thing. The locals start whispering among themselves and say that they should talk to him because he probably hasn't noticed. They go up to him and say, "Dear Father Emlo, thank you so much. Every word of your sermon was worth its weight in gold. Let us just draw your attention to one small detail." Week after week, you say the same thing. To which the priest replies, "My dear children, once you do what I tell you, then I will tell you something else. My first piece of advice is almost trivial, but believe me, it will restore your faith. The faith that you are searching for, the faith that allows you to think big. Read every day. Read every single day, even if you get home late tonight from here, no matter how far you've come, right, Artie? From Romania. If you see the letters in the book like this, there are so many times when I feel the edge of the book hit me here because I'm so sleepy, but I still read. As Schwarzenegger said, sleep faster. Excuses are just whining, so you don't need them. When I also wake up at times like 4:30 or 3:30 in the morning, it's so that I have time for this, and I know what I get from it. Because reading gives you the opportunity to spend intimate moments together with the best in the world. Nothing can replace it, not even their presence. Nothing. And if someone says, "I don't have time for it," it's easy to calculate that if we read for just 30 minutes a day, there's still plenty of time left for everything else. And let's turn around the bench we're sitting on, because instead of saying, "I have everything else to do, and if I have time left, then I'll read," or if I'm not too tired and overtired, we should first read and then do everything else. The other thing is stop worrying. I apologize to those who have already seen my presentation and have come across this slide. But if you do what I tell you, believe me, I will change the entire slide deck, okay? So stop worrying. I'm serious. What I see is that people really go through life as if they have to tiptoe all the way to the grave just to make sure that nothing worse happens because they're alive. Sorry for being alive. And we're all so anxious about everything and worrying about what others will say. Now, if I stand up here, should I be afraid of who will like my presentation? Sorry to put it this way, but I don't care whether people like my presentation or not. I really don't care. I know that I'm speaking from the heart, and I know that I want the best. If they don't like it, there are countless paths to success anyway, but there's only one sure path to failure, trying to please everyone. I don't want to please everyone, and I don't recommend that you try either. So stop worrying, because it drains a lot of your energy. We also know that most of our worries are either about things that happened in the past, which is pointless, or about things we assume will happen, but never actually do. It just doesn't make sense. Who here recognizes the gentleman in the picture? Not necessarily personally, though that wouldn't be bad either. But at least to recognize him, that's all I'd add. Okay, so this is Donald Trump. I apologize to him for the picture, but actually he does have more favorable qualities than, like, her hair. So Donald Trump has a personal method for, sorry. Is there anyone here who doesn't know Donald Trump? It's probably worth sharing a few thoughts about him. Everyone knows him. Wow, we're in the right place. Donald Trump plays with billions of dollars. What do you think? Does he ever worry? Now, that's a tricky question. Who thinks that he does worry? Who thinks that he doesn't? Who abstains? Great. So, according to his own admission, he does. And do you know what he does when he starts to worry? Who here would like to know what he does? Because then he doesn't, okay, so he has a picture of the galaxy on his wall, and when he starts to worry about business or personal matters, he turns his leather armchair toward this picture and begins to look for himself within the galaxy along with his problem. Even those who have already heard it would laugh, because now Now I'm looking seriously at a couple of familiar old friends' faces, and okay, but anyway, it's understandable. So it's a little, humorous element. I adore Marky's sense of humor. I'm an old man. I've been through terrible things in life, and some of them really did happen to me. So much for worries. There's no point wasting our vitality, our energy on this. Let's not do this, okay? And since we've already talked about being an entrepreneur versus being an employee, going back and forth, which is better? Well, I really recommend this image to everyone. It's worth thinking about. You see, a toothbrush and toilet paper are having a conversation. Sometimes I feel like I have the worst job in the world. Let's swap for cheap toilet paper. So you have a choice. You have a choice. So make use of your human dignity. For heaven's sake, no one can dictate your life. We're not living in slavery anymore where we scrape together 10 euros for, what was it? Did he have something wrong with his eyes? So we're not at that point. Yo, kids, you just go and fire your boss. Sorry, and don't let anyone do that because of me, because I'm not taking responsibility if someone shows up at my door with their luggage saying, well, from now on, I'm living here. That's what I did back in 2009. The party had already started back in 2008. And in 2009, I said goodbye to my solid 7-figure salary, saying that today was my last day working here. So I don't want to come across as someone who just talks the talk, but I really mean it when I say that if you want a successful, happy, and fulfilling life, then believe me, you need to become an entrepreneur. I'm not saying you should completely give up being an employee. It's a different way of thinking, but at the very least, start a side business or something. Like, just get a taste of that environment, get a sense of what it's like to be an entrepreneur. By the way, there's a really good analogy I just learned, because since 2009, there have been some low points that really took a toll on me as well. Such is the beauty of entrepreneurial life. And you know, there's a big similarity when you compare being an employee to being an entrepreneur. Since Istvan brought up plants, onions, and how we were pushed down like onions, I'll bring an example from the animal world. The dog is the employee. He gets his food every day. Of course, he's on a chain. And sometimes he gets kicked, but hey, at least there's food every day, right? The wolf is the entrepreneur. He might not eat for a week, but he is free. That's all about this cathartic example, but I love it. So dare to stand out from the crowd. Don't just accept that really pay attention. Human behavior is once again very similar to that of sheep in the animal world. So if something is accepted by the majority, then boom, we take it too. Okay, that's what we have to do, but you don't have to do that. Dare to be unique because you know well that the original painting is always worth more than the copy. And one more piece of advice, Duncan, don't compare yourself to others. I hear it when people talk like, did you see what Yoshi bought? Or, you know, he got fired too, and so on. What's the point of all this? Let's focus on our own lives. What happens if you compare yourself to others? Two things are possible. One is that you think, who is he compared to me? Well, I'm something after all. The other is that you feel like this little mouse. You say, oh my God, he's so lucky. Wow, maybe one day I'll be big too or not, right? So it makes no sense. What I suggest is that you compare your current life to your own life 5 years ago. Look at how you're doing now, mentally, in your relationships, in terms of your health, your finances, your career, the wheel of life, you know? Don't look at your neighbor or at others or at me. It doesn't matter to me, but it does to you. Okay? So don't compare yourself to others. I spent years always looking at how many times someone else went on vacation, what kind of car they drove, what kind of car I drove. This is good for nothing. It doesn't solve the situation. Next, take responsibility. The thing is, we always shift responsibility onto others. But you know, the truth is that won't solve our own lives. I'm still talking about the axle of the big wheel, which is only about you. All right? Choose carefully who you surround yourself with. If there's only one thing you pay attention to in your personal life, let it be who you allow to bring anything into here. And you know, that's why I said at the beginning, What a huge honor it is for me to be able to speak to you now, because you've given me your trust, allowing me to come in here for a little while, because you know you can never leave this room the same way you came in. That's obvious because a little pebble gets into your shoe and it's going to press on you. And that can be good news, not just terrible. So it's about those people you surround yourself with. By the way, I have a kind of Spartan attitude toward my environment. If someone in my surroundings says the problem is that, then I count like that cowboy who gets married and puts his wife on the horse. Who here knows this example? Well, most of you don't, so I have to tell it. Sorry. He puts her on the horse, and they ride into the desert. The horse stumbles, and the cowboy says, "Cowboy 1." They keep going. The horse stumbles again, and he says, "Cowboy 2." They go on again. The horse stumbles once more, and he says, "Cowboy 3." He gets off, takes his wife down from the saddle, steps to the side, pulls out his pistol, and shoots the horse in the head right there in the middle of the desert. The wife says, "But why did you have to shoot the poor horse like that?" "He didn't even do anything," he says. "One." If someone in my presence says, "The problem is that," and then I say 1, often I don't even count to 3. And you know why? Because Gandhi said, these are the kinds of sentences that change a person's life, that I will not allow anyone to walk through my mind with dirty feet. I will not allow anyone to crap on the carpet of my mind. I don't allow myself to grumble, complain, or let negativity pour out of me. Where do you think I got the idea of what Istvan was thinking about Unicum? Because he's as positive as can be. Like an onion or whatever. Very positive. Because you only see things positively. Always grinning like a split sausage. When you meet him, positivity just radiates from him. It's the same Imi up, the same Vicky. You can always just count how many teeth they have in the front. This is the best. Seriously. I didn't used to smile. I can't even imagine it now. I just saw it. And actually, a lot of times I did it to hide my discomfort. Like someone carrying extra baggage. That's how I felt. And then it started to come from within. You know, Tony also talks about physiology. So if there's or Brian says it to Brian Tracy about the law of reversibility. If you start smiling, then you start to feel good. What I did, believe me, was I stood in front of the mirror once I could actually look at myself. You know, these are stages. And then I started to smile. And I started to feel good. Then, of course, there's loving yourself and all that. But for now, let's just say, and take a look at who you surround yourself with. I mentioned this again as my number one example. You are the average of the 5 people closest to you. If you're sufficiently advanced, the word perversion came to mind, but I don't want everyone looking at me like, oh my God, how can I say something like that? With yourself, then write down the 5 people you spend the most time with during the day, and then the one under the other, from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep. Write them down and mark 3 categories as columns: relationships, finances, and health, and give each of them a score from 1 to 5. Underline this whole operation, which will calculate the average, and you might not be happy with the result, because that's going to be your own score. Of course, if you end up with a 5 in every category, that's very good news. When I decided that I was going to earn more than 1 million forints a month, and I visualized it, I did everything, and yet there was no progress. I kept asking myself, for heaven's sake, why? And I looked around, and in my environment, 200,000 forints was the most that anyone I knew was earning. The rest were making much less, but the peak was 200,000. It's a huge effect. We're chameleons. We're chameleons, or monkeys, meaning we imitate others. We absolutely become like what our environment does. The final thoughts. Choose your words carefully, because every word you say is a magic spell. We say things that hurt ourselves, that put ourselves down. I'm thinking of something as simple as walking on the ground. Oh, how stupid I am. So, what are you doing to yourself? Oh my God, I always mess everything up. I'll never succeed at this anyway. With words like these, you create your whole reality. And that's because God has only one stamp. What do you think is written on it? Approved. If you say that, you always miss out on every opportunity Boom. There's the stamp. Well, that's what you wanted. If you say that, you always see through everything you start. Believe me, it's only a matter of time. There's the stamp again. If you haven't yet said, damn it, no way, then the moment you do say, damn it, yeah, oops, that's exactly when the stamp goes down. So, believe me, my mother-in-law has made a sport out of this because when she puts on her beautiful suit for the first time in spring and goes to the ice cream shop, and they ask her what kind of ice cream she'd like, she says, one that matches the color of my suit because I'm going to spill it on myself anyway. So you can use this wonderful tool in this way too, but it's less ideal. And allow me to express my deep respect for two wonderful people this evening. Two young people whom I hold in very, very high regard, and in recent times, I have greatly admired the energy and perseverance with which they do their work. And they have become my heroes in their 20s, and I remember where my thoughts were when I was in my 20s. There was only one stable point, that's for sure. And I see what they are doing. I ask you all to recognize them with a huge round of applause. Please, Vicky and Amy, come here if you would be so kind. I know I want to put it next to Vicky. I really, really love them, and I wish them much success in their future work. This really is a wonderful thing. So I just want to say, at such a young age and with such perseverance, just keep it up. If you allow me, I'd also like to say goodbye. Thank you for coming to see me, and this event is yours. But as a guest, let me just share another couple hundred thoughts. So what Zsolt said, dear, did you all sit back down for a bit? You're here anyway? What Zsolt said was a brilliant new idea, one that's worth patenting here regarding false modesty. I literally always say that false modesty is much worse than lack of modesty. Allow me just one thought as a bit of self-promotion. As Istvan mentioned, I committed this book, and anyone who honors me by reading it has the opportunity to take a copy here, and I'd be happy to scribble something in the front for you. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and one parting thought. I know this is already the umpteenth time, and I'm taking things to a rather cathartic level. There are people here with you who are old acquaintances and others whom you met and introduced yourselves to about 30 minutes ago. And as we discussed, the goal is to gain faith in ourselves. We can also achieve this by giving faith to others, and a wonderful way to do that is by acknowledging them. Now I ask you to stand up and look into the eyes of the three people you introduced yourselves to, and tell them you are a wonderful person.